So I got referred to the cancer psychology unit on the first day of chemotherapy. So my treatment started with chemotherapy, and as part of that there was kind of an introduction to everything to expect, and it offered me multiple things that I could do in terms of my well-being, and one of them was the psychology unit, and they recommended it as an option for me to have someone to talk to and to make sure that I understood and worked my way through everything while I was going through the chemotherapy. So the expectations to seeing a psychologist is a strange one, and I'm sure it's different for everyone. For myself, I thought, oh, it's not something I need. Why would I need to go see a psychologist? I know myself really well, and yes, I'm going through cancer, but it's okay, I'm ready for it. I thought it's going to be a lot of talking about your feelings, and I wasn't quite ready for that. And so my worry was that it was going to be very feeling orientated and very emotional, which I didn't feel ready for. So yeah, that was kind of my expectations when I went into it. That was my worry. Pretty much within 30 minutes, I think, of the first session, I realized that it was whatever you wanted it to be. I think that's in itself. I didn't know what I wanted it to be, but Jenny, who was my psychologist, she really helped just help me find my direction, help me see what I needed to talk about. What I realized was, yes, of course, I talked a little bit about my feelings, but a lot of the time I just talked about thoughts that were going through my mind, both negative and positive, things that I couldn't explain sometimes, and thoughts I couldn't explain, feelings I couldn't explain, anxieties I couldn't quite explain. And what I found was great about the talking with a psychologist is that it wasn't just about my feelings, but it was about giving me direction, how to deal, how to work things out for myself. No one was telling me this is how you should feel, this is what to expect. It was very much giving me tools to work things out for myself, which I felt was a really powerful way for me to understand what I was going through with cancer. What I find really interesting is I think I blocked a lot of it out. At the beginning, it was almost a denial. I wouldn't necessarily call it a denial, but in some ways it felt like that. And talking to the psychologist, it helped me kind of piece together the emotions I was going through, the physical feelings I was going through as well, and also kind of prepared me for what to expect each step of the way. Because I don't think you can ever prepare yourself. You read about it, you see what goes on. You've had family members, friends who've gone through it, but until you go through it yourself, it's just you really don't know what to expect. And I think the psychologist service really just prepared me for that. And every time I had a tough day, or every time I had new things that came along that I wasn't expecting, the next session was really helpful in just talking it through. I think the biggest thing was talking. I didn't expect to open up, but I did in a non-intrusive way, in a very relaxed way, and I wanted to open up because I felt so relaxed. But one of the things that was quite big, and which might sound silly, but I think it's an important part of understanding what you go through with cancer, and a really important part of what helped with the psychology service, is that I've got a partner, and she worked in a hospital. And because it was COVID, she really didn't want to have to go into the hospital where she was at high risk catching it, because my immune system would be compromised. So one of the big things was how we were going to deal with the fact that she was going to she chose to stop work. She was going to be basically self-isolating with me. We'd actually only recently moved in together, so that was going to be a new and interesting challenge. So there was that difficulty in my personal life, was that it was having a heavy impact on someone else. And then just in general, I have a big family. I'm a family person. I have 4 sisters, 12 nephews and nieces. It's huge. And one of the strange things is that I didn't expect is I was more concerned about the impact on them than it was on myself. You just divorce yourself from what's happening. It's like you're watching it from above and watching someone else. So I think everything and what they were going through really concerned me in my life. So I think the change that people noticed in me, particularly family and some friends, was that I think I didn't have the fears I expected to have. When I talked to people on messaging, because I didn't see them in person at the beginning, I talked about a lot of my fears about being around people, about the weakness that it would do in my body. 'Cause I'm quite a fit and healthy person beforehand. I did a lot of sports, I felt strong, I was always a man that did the things I needed to do. I loved DIY and things like that, and I loved traveling. And they all knew that the cancer had kind of hit that very, very hard. It gave me a fear of traveling is a huge part of my life. I love traveling, I do it for work, I do it on a personal level. I was almost saying to them, I don't think I'll be able to travel again, I'll be too scared. And what they noticed after going through the psychologist sessions and the ongoing ones that I had post the treatment, which were really helpful in themselves, was that I got over the impact it had on me psychologically quicker. They were shocked. There was even comments of, I really didn't expect you to get back to yourself so quickly. You seem like almost, if I didn't know, I wouldn't have known you'd gone through cancer. You feel and talk and act and look 100% yourself. And I think a huge part of that, of course, friends and family, but a huge part was the psychologist service, which really helped me get back to where I wanted to be. I think if you're nervous about using the service, my recommendation would be to start as small as you need to get a feel for what to expect and to feel comfortable with what the service offers. Research it as well. I think a lot of people make assumptions. Sadly, many of us go through cancer nowadays. So talk to someone, whether they're a close acquaintance or someone else, the likelihood is they've used it, and hopefully they have, and have that conversation.